Hi, this is Mike Hendrickson from Velocity 2016 in Santa Clara. I'm here with Volker. Volker, how you doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Sure. So you're with Microsoft.
Yeah. I'm part of the developer experience organization, and my team focuses on DevOps and evangelizing DevOps practices.
And developer experience at Microsoft is quite new and different nowadays.
Yeah.
Can you unpack that a little bit and talk about what is new with you guys?
Yeah. It's very interesting to be. I'm with Microsoft for quite some years, and it is quite interesting and refreshing to see how we have evolved over time. And with the advent of Satya Nadella as the CEO, there's a very new world for Microsoft that we are in evangelism obviously see firsthand, where we not just work with Microsoft technology and Microsoft products and Microsoft tools, but we are very much interested in working with the open source community, understanding how they use their tools and how we can integrate the tools into our tool chain, our existing products where possible.
And how does DevOps work at Microsoft? Because that's kind of a new thing about the way people work together and the way they deploy continuously and all that.
Yeah.
Is that changing the way Microsoft works on things now too?
Oh yeah. There's many ways in which DevOps and DevOps practices are impacting Microsoft. One of the very internal things how Microsoft is impacted by DevOps practices obviously is internal Microsoft IT. Their LOB application teams, their dev teams, they start more and more embarking on the journey of DevOps, adopting practices like continuous integration, etc. The development teams in MSIT, they've been agile for a long period of time, but DevOps for many of the teams, Microsoft internal is still a new thing. Externally, there's a very different story.
So when you say MSIT, that's Microsoft internal, the internal team running your technologies platforms. But then you have product groups that are developing for different platforms. And you're now more agnostic about the platforms you develop for, is that fair to say?
This is very fair to say, yes, exactly. We make sure that the products we build for the vast majority actually are supported and run not only on a Windows platform, but also supported on iOS, Android, and other desktop operating systems, Linux from the server perspective, obviously,
So, and open source has a big part of that as well, right?
Yeah.
So when you say continuous integration, you really mean integration with all the different platforms and everything that you guys are working with.
Yeah. In particular, you see that with a service like Visual Studio Team Service, where we not just build a product that cannot be extended, but it is extensible by anyone who wants to extend the platform. And we see currently roughly about 7,000 extensions to the whole Visual Studio VSTS ecosystem that are not built by Microsoft, that are available from third parties, open source communities, as well as from partners and customers.
So when you talk about DevOps in Microsoft, do you work this with your partners too? Because I know Microsoft, you have this huge ecosystem of people you work with, whether it's a car company or a bank in another country or all these different enterprises you work with. Do you have to help them understand the promise of DevOps? Is that a role that Microsoft is taking on?
Yeah. One of the main roles that my team plays within Microsoft is exactly that. We are working with our customers, with partners, but also with the open source community on joint activities, mostly events events where we get together and help attendees to understand how to apply DevOps practices, how they may make sense in their environment. And obviously these customers, these attendees, they bring their tools, they bring their experience, and what we try to do is try to accommodate what they know and what they have learned and experienced over the years, and try to see how we can apply DevOps practices based on Azure and the public cloud mostly.
Excellent. So if you were to look at today where you guys are as an organization, which I think is quite different than it was 3 years ago even, if you can fast forward 12 months from now, what do you think is still going to change at Microsoft for the better because of the usage of DevOps and new ways of thinking.
Yeah. I'm convinced that we will see more and more connections between Microsoft and the open source community at large that as we see today. The openness of Microsoft that you can read about and hear about everywhere, this is something that we are also still evolving and continue to evolve. So we want to make bigger contributions back to the open source community as we do today, for example. Many of our SDKs, in particular when it comes to Azure services and the APIs that are exposed, are now immediately after they have been released, will go open source. So they will be available for the community to see what's going on, but also to help and to enhance and to provide feedback. I think this will continue to grow.
And you guys continue to support those as well, and in other areas as well.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
Volker, we look forward to that journey with you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.